Soma, you can start.
Okay. Thank you very much, Manu. Most Venerable Olandayananda Swamin Wahansa, dear Dhamma friends. This short discussion on Anapanasati meditation, subtitled as a path to Nibbana, because that is what the presentation tries to focus on, is a very preliminary overview, and it can be a very long presentation if we go into the details. Therefore, I will try to keep it to the first part of a particular discourse. So, where do we get information on Anapanasati? The Anapanasati is something that has been discussed very often in many, many different discourses by the Buddha. And at the same time, as a meditation technique and as part of Satipatthana, it is also documented in a large number of other documented sources, including Visuddhimagga and so many others. Just to mention a few, Satipatthana Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, this is Satipatthana Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, mentions and gives a brief description of Anapanasati as one of the meditation techniques under Kayanupassana. And Mahasatipatthana Sutta gives a more detailed description, slightly more detailed description, but the discourse that's dedicated to describing the Anapanasati as a meditation is Anapanasati Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, often quoted as MN 122, Majjhima Nikaya 122. Majjhima Nikaya is divided into three main sections. The third one is Uparipannasakya. In that there is Vibhanga Vaggaya, and in that there is Anapanasati Sutta. That for me, I take it as the most authentic, most comprehensive explanation of Anapanasati Sutta. But of course, to go deeper, to gain a deeper understanding of the various nuances of the terms, we need to also supplement that reading with other sources. There is Anapana Samyutta, which is in Samyutta Nikaya. And there is Anapana Samyutta with 20 little discourses, and very interesting. And in that, there is Ananda Sutta 1 and Ananda Sutta 2. Similarly, Bhikkhu Sutta 1 and Bhikkhu Sutta 2. Both of them explain what is in Anapanasati Sutta. So, why do we have Ananda Sutta 1 and Ananda Sutta 2? In one of them, it is Venerable Ananda who requests the Buddha for the information. In another discourse, or in the second discourse, the Buddha himself initiates the discussion. And then there is Patisambhida Magga Pali in Anapanasati Katha in Kuddaka Nikaya. Actually, I have not read that. And there is Vibhanga Prakaranaya in Abhidhamma Pitaka, also not alluding to, also discussing Anapanasati. So Visuddhimagga, as I said before. So I have used here, I am presenting what is in Anapanasati Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya in Sinhala that I read, what I understand most. But also for English terms, I read the translation by Bhikkhu Thanissara. But the translated words, as we also saw last week, can be at variance with one another, can even sound different. So sometimes maybe the words I use are not quite the same or not quite right, but we can always discuss those as we go on. But I have kept this presentation 100% fidelity to Anapanasati Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. And also I got assistance from AI for some imagery. Okay, so Anapanasati, as I said before, is one of the most often and most frequently given discourses, and it is said to be a Buddha meditation. We all know at the age of 7 years how Prince Siddhartha meditated on Anapana when he was at his father's harvesting festival. So it's key meditation in the Buddha's own spiritual life. And we know that all Buddhas, and also Prince Siddhartha, on the eve of his enlightenment, he sat under the Bodhi tree and meditated on Anapanasati. And it is said that all Buddhas attain enlightenment based on Anapanasati. And this is because Anapanasati can be used for all 40 kamatanas or meditation objectives. So that's the importance of Anapanasati, amongst many other practical reasons as well. Now, there is a very heartwarming prologue to Anapanasati discourse in Majjhima Nikaya, that sutta that we just referred to. The Buddha was dwelling in Purvarama or Migaramata Prasadya, which was built by Visakha Upasika. And usually we don't hear, we hear more of the discourses from Savatthi, but in this case, this sutta was given by the Buddha when he was dwelling one vast season in this Purvarama. And it is also said that after the end of the vast season, the Buddha came to the garden surrounding the Viharaya, which was very serene, very calm, very peaceful, very conducive to reflection. So, and then sitting in these aesthetic surroundings, the Buddha saw many of the very senior venerables working, being engaged in training other bhikkhus. And some of these very senior venerable bhikkhus were Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Mahamoggallana, Venerable Mahakassapa, Venerable Mahakachana, Venerable Mahakotitta, Mahakappina, and so many others. And they were guiding novice bhikkhus in groups of 10, 20, 30, and even 40. And the Buddha was very pleased to see these senior bhikkhus in the garden of Purvarama, working very hard, very earnestly in training, in guiding the younger bhikkhus on the path to Nibbana, on meditation. And then the Buddha said, monks, that he expressed his contentment, his acknowledgement, his approval for this training by the senior monks. And he said, he declared that he was going to stay the fourth month, that is the first month after the vast season, in the same place, that is Purvarama. Why? Usual practice is after the vast season, the Buddha and the Sangha who was spending the vast season at that place would go out on what is called Viharacharika, that is teaching the Dhamma to the villagers and to the monks and so on. But here the Buddha made a rather unusual decision, and he declared that he's going to stay there in these beautiful, peaceful, calm surroundings, and for another month. And why did he do that? Because he felt that these monks could then benefit from further training, further meditation, the continuation of this effort, and could reach higher states of adhigama, meaning higher mental states, either jhanas, but mostly that they could move on to Soan, Sakadagami, Anagami, etc., and reach the fruits of their monkhood. And the bhikkhus were very happy to know this, and even the word spread to the surrounding areas, surrounding villages, and it is said that so many bhikkhus came to Purvarama or Purvarama to listen to the Buddha, to get the benefits of the Buddha extending his stay here for a month. So the Buddha is considered this exemplary behavior of his senior monks and the other bhikkhus as an invitation for him to stay on for another month there, instead of going on the Viharacharika. And the bhikkhus continued their training and practice, and many of them attained higher mental states or adhigama. And then after the 4th month, again the Buddha saw the bhikkhus in the same way. He praised the bhikkhus, saying that they had attained the path and fruits, using the words that Sangha are usually praised with: Ahuneya, Pahuneya, Anchalikaraneya, etc. Or we know the meanings of those terms, that they are suitable to accept dana, gifts that people bring from far, etc. And he also said that he saw that there were many arahants among the bhikkhus, shinasavas, who have eradicated the asavas, the defilements, from their minds. They have done their work, kata kamma nyuta, and they have put down the weight of defilements that they were carrying. It's not only arahants, he also said there are bhikkhus who have reached anagami, or the state of non-returning to the karma world by eliminating the 5 rough orambhagya sanyojana. They are non-returners. And he saw Sakadagami, who might be coming once to the Kamaloka, etc. And then the Buddha said the bhikkhus who have been dwelling in this place had practiced meditation. And he referred to 7 types of meditation, including 4 foundations, 4 samya pradhana, 4 iriyapada, 5 baladharma, bojjhanga dharma, Aryashtangika, Margaya, Brahma Vihara, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, etc., and Asubha Bhavana as well. And then he said also Anapanasati. And at this time, this is the end of the 4th month there in Purvarama, Buddha then gave a discourse on Anapanasati specifically out of these different types of meditations that the bhikkhus were. So the book says, Majjhima Nikaya, that this is the time when the white water lilies are blooming in the ponds, in this garden. It's very peaceful, very quiet, very conducive to reflection. And here, Buddha gave this Anapanasati discourse, because he said he saw monks who remain devoted to mindfulness of in and out breathing, or breath meditation, or whatever. So mindfulness of in and out breathing he said, when developed and pursued. And these two words come often in the Sutta Pitaka, and particularly in relation to meditation. Bhavita bahuli kata. That means you have to practice and practice extensively. Is of great fruit, of great benefit. So this phrase is used very often, you see, in relation to meditation, and particularly in the sutta, mindfulness of in and out breathing. And he said, why? It leads to the four establishments of mindfulness, Satara Satipatthana, when developed the way that the Buddha was going to teach. And basically, Bhavita Bahulikata, according to the way Buddha was going to teach. That leads to 7 factors of awakening. And that leads to clear knowing, Sati Sampajana, and release of defilements to their culmination. So we see in a nutshell why the Buddha wanted to emphasize, explain, elaborate on Anapanasati. So that's the background to it. That's the prologue to it. Now, and in the typical manner in which the Buddha often started a discourse, he asked, now, how is mindfulness of in and out breathing developed and pursued so as to be of great fruit and great benefit? So the key words are, how do you do this to reach these great fruit and great benefit? So that's how he started the sutta. Anyway, now this is almost a summary of the sutta, and it would be very interesting for anyone to read the discourse. It can be easily obtained on the internet as well. So, and also we need to remember that this discourse is given to bhikkhus who are quite advanced in their practice. For example, they have perfected their sila. Some have attained even arahanthood, but some have attained the jhanas at least. So therefore, here, Buddha did not talk about how to prepare you or how to prepare oneself for meditation. That was not necessary in this case. But if you look at Digha Nikaya, there are 32 discourses there, except for one, which is not about this particular topic. In every other discourse, the Buddha repeats a certain section, a certain part of the discourse, which is the importance of perfecting the sila, of restraining oneself, restraining one's mind, behavior, and seeing danger in the slightest fault. And here the Buddha didn't say that because there was no need to do so, because this group of monks were already in that situation. But he reminded the monks about the surroundings and the posture. So we all know about the standard things that the Buddha, that we find in the discourses of either going to a forest or to a root of a tree or to a calm and quiet place. In today's world, the calm and quiet place could be the room, our room, or some place in a temple, wherever. So he emphasized here the surroundings and the posture. Suitable environment for the posture, upper body straight but not stiff, because if it's stiff, if it's bent, then there'll be pain soon. You need to sit down. This is what is preferred. Sits down, folding the legs. Buddha never gave instructions as such. He only showed the path. So the words in this discourse are such that there are no words to say you should, you must. Sits down, folding the legs crosswise. This is one posture. But later on, the same slightly different postures which still unable to keep the upper body straight have been adopted. And notice in this picture, the thumbs are touching. And this is quite important. The thumbs are touching, the right hand on the left hand with the thumbs touching. And then comes the difficult phrase even to understand, which is a subject of much debate among scholars and among writers, establishing mindfulness to the fore. The word fore Parimukam, what does that mean? And that itself can be discussed for hours, really, because there are the different teachers, different schools of thought have interpreted this word differently. To my understanding, what it means is keeping the mind. There are two interpretations, which I'm also not very sure about, but in practice, you can understand this. Keeping the mind near the nostrils, end of the nose, or perhaps maybe the upper lip, where you can feel the breath. Another possibility here is keep the mind focused on the breath. Be mindful of the breath. And of course, in order to do that, you need to know where the breath is touching the body so that you know the breath is touching the body. And then you stay with the breath. That's the whole idea. So for this, effort is necessary, sama vayama. But we are cautioned not to exercise too much effort, which can be therefore tiring and harmful. And it's also important not to give up in a few minutes. Of course, a beginning practitioner might not be able to do this for even 15, 20, 30 minutes, but with practice and effort, you can do that. And that should be the aim, to be there for a quite long time, because it is only then that you can go on this progressive path. So another important concept here is progressive. You can't jump to very high advanced stages of Anapanasati. You have to take a gradual progressive path, starting from the beginning. So end of the nose, I just drew this picture to be a visual. So parimukha, keeping your mind there. Then the Anapanasati in this sutta and also in a number of other discourses, you find this also in the Anapanasangutta in Samyutta Nikaya, but I am being 100% fidel to the Anapanasati Sutra here. So there are 16 steps. Let me see, I think I have missed the order here, right? And when it comes to the to keeping your mind on the breath, this is not in the Anapanasati Sutta. I think I read this in Satipatthana Sutta, but I couldn't check up the source, but it stays in my mind. Be like an Indra that is a very strong, very, very strong pillar that is not easily moved about by even a strong wind. So your mind has to be that strongly, that firmly, not attached, but on the breath, on where it is entering the nostrils of the body and where it is leaving. And how do we do that? We do that like a guard. This is also from the same discourse, guard. Who is guarding a palace door, for example? Now, what does he do? He watches the people who goes in, watches the people who comes out. That is his duty. That is his task. Once he lets a person go in, it is not his duty to see where they are going, what they are doing. And it is also not his duty to see a person coming out, what's happening to him afterwards. So it is that. Watch the breath going in, not watch, observe, know the breath that is going in and the breath that is coming out. So that's how it starts. And there are 16 steps of mindfulness breath. It's a complete path. These 16 steps constitute a complete path from mindfulness to liberation, meaning Nibbana. So it has one meditation object, the natural breath. We all know the advantages of having that meditation object. 16 steps, and this is taught in 4 groups called tetrads, 4 groups. Each tetrad, the beauty of this is fulfills one foundation of mindfulness: Kaya Anupassana, Vedana Anupassana, Chitta Anupassana, and Dhamma Anupassana. So, so see how we can understand a little bit about why the Buddha has been talking so much about breath meditation. When that is fulfilled, it means we are developing all four satipatthanas: Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, and Dhammanupassana. So Anapanasati integrates samatha and vipassana, as we will see shortly in the next few minutes. So this is clearly says very well why Anapanasati meditation is so important. So tetrads, there are four tetrads. The first is Kaya Anupassana. They don't call it Kaya Anupassana as such, but it's the first tetrad, and it's deal with body. Now, something really important, if I understand is right, and I have tried to understand it by reading whatever I could find as authentic readings, it does not refer to the physical body that we have, the face, head, the neck, and up down to the legs. It refers to the body of breath. Body among bodies, one kaya among many kayas. Kaya means group. So here, kaya sankara word is used in Anapanasati, and in Pali what it means is asvasa prasvasa. Kaya sankara is the term used for asvasa prasvasa, which is very clearly explained in the Vibhanga Sutta, Vibhanga Prakarana of the Abhidhamma. So, the breath is then grounded and calmed, grounding and calming of the breath. And then the second tetrad from step 5 to 6, 7, 8 is about feeling, is about experiencing the joy and ease that happens once the mind is very focused on the breath. Then further progress gradually, aiming to achieve the stability and freedom inside, and then finally looking at the deepest part of this, seeing or gaining insight and letting go of all our defilements. And we can understand why Anapanasati has to be practiced gradually, going through these four tetrads in a progressive process. So the first thread, what does it say? It's the contemplation of the body, establishing mindfulness through the body. We go from knowing the breath. We must notice the word knowing the breath. It's deliberately chosen in the text. To calming. Now this word bodily activity, I'm not sure, various other terms are also used, but the best way to understand is Kaya Sankara, the Pali term. So within these four steps in the first tetrad, knowing the breath. So I must step back 1 minute here. First of all, you need to be able to notice your breath, where it touches the nostrils or the upper lip, or where the first point you can notice it. We need to be able to see it going in. We need to be able to see it coming out when we are quite comfortable with it. Then this first step, breathing in long, he knows. I breathe in long. We are not to repeat this verbally, just to be able to know it. Awareness that the breath is long and the out breath is long. Similarly, if I breathe in short or I breathe out short. So simply knowing the breath as it is, knows non-judgmentally noting. We just notice that the type of breath, type in the sense whether it's a long breath, say if now I breathe in, but it's longer than the previous one. One may assume that it's a long breath. If the next breath is again short, it's a short breath. So practicing this, keeping the mind only on this, only on noticing the breath, and with that, whether it's a long breath or a short breath. So a nice example is a simile is given. I need to do something because, okay, right. It is said that, what is it called? This turner, when he's making a long turn, like when he's making, I think maybe with the wood, like circles, he knows he's making a long turn. He's fully focused on that. And if he needs a short turn to carve the wood, he knows that he is making a short turn. So the Buddha gives that simile. The Buddha has used this technique of providing visual similes to make people understand better. So the long breath, short breath. One has to become very conversant, very comfortable with that. Now, when it comes to step 3, there is another word there which is very important. Hereafter, the Buddha doesn't say he knows. By he, of course, who is meant the bhikkhu, because it was addressing the bhikkhus at that time. But there is nothing to say that it's not for other people, lay people, etc. So he trains himself now. Sikha is the word. Sikha. Not knowing, not observing, but disciplining himself. Training, rather, training. But passive and mindful, passive but mindful efforts. This is how Samma Vayama develops, I think, also. So what happens now? He trains himself. I will breathe in, experiencing the whole body. I will breathe out, experiencing the whole body. Now, here again, the whole body does not mean head to foot at all. The body here refers to the Kaya Sankara or Anapanasati, according to what I have said. I know that later teachings and different schools of thought are there referring to the physical body other than the Anapanasati, but this is the intention in the Anapanasati Sutta as far as I know. So now the awareness that was there originally expands, and the body is felt as a unified process. The mind is concentrated. It's concentrated enough to know when it's the whole breath, meaning the beginning, the time it touches the nostril, the process, the middle, that it goes up, and then its return. Maybe sometimes there is that tiny gap between the in-breath stopping and the out-breath starting, but the whole body means the whole breath body. That's the idea. And then it says, step 4, calming the body of breath. The awareness now expands. The breath itself is felt as a unified process, and the meditator trains himself, sikkati. I will breathe in, calming bodily formation. I will breathe in, breathe out, calming bodily formation. But we don't need to say this in words. We don't need to verbalize this unless there is some disturbance that we feel and we want to bring the mind back. It's better not to not to do this verbally. So now what happens at this stage, this is after long practice, of course, depending on people's abilities and history and practice, etc. This breath body or the Kaya Sankara, they become very subtle, calm, settled. I think there is a misunderstanding here again, that some people say when you keep meditating Anapanasati, as the meditation develops, that the breathing stops. I don't think that ever happens, and it should not. And that's what many of the original books also explain. but the breath settles down. It's calm, it's not rough, it's not up and down. And we notice that, and the breath becomes that. So the meditator remains focused on the body. This is direct from the discourse, in and out, in and of itself. These are also common words used in every, paragraph. Ardent, atapi, that means full of energy, effort, not energy, effort. Alert and mindful. And subduing greed and distress with reference to the world. So, atapi sampachano satima vinaya loke. We all are familiar with that. So, our attachment to the breath body or wherever, and our aversions, I don't know whether this word distress is a proper translation. Aversion is gradually settling down. So it signifies the progression from coarse, agitated physical mental states to refined, tranquil states of concentration. So just see how amazingly clever this strategy is. Our mind runs all over the place all the time and clings on to all the things that bring us harm. But trying to keep it focused on this naturally available asset in this way, both the physical and the mental states, there's an explanation why the physical states also get refined and tranquil. And then the second tetrad. So here, in this tetrad, we go from, the meditator goes from, let me see again to move this, right? Okay. From joy to deep comfort to tranquility. Why? And here again, now, the meditator, the bhikkhu, or whoever is meditating, is still training himself. Train this time like this. I will breathe in sensitive to the joy that I feel, the zest, preeti. When the jhanas are explained, such as in the Nikaya Suttas or in the Abhidhamma books or elsewhere, there is the reference to a joy, a great happiness, more than happiness. It's a zest that you feel very intensely. And the meditator is sensitive to this zest. He breathes out sensitive to the zest, the mental happiness. And then also to sukha. I think it all means you also feel it in your entire body. And there are beautiful similes given to explain, to imagine what this pleasure actually means. So the joy arises naturally as the mind gathers, as the mind becomes more and more concentrated, stays focused on the breath. And then the happiness that we have achieved that level of concentration, our mind does not wander, and that our mind is not now hindered by the hindrances, the 5 hindrances. Actually, Anapanasati Sutta should begin with a discourse on the 5 hindrances, because what this does is subduing those hindrances and eventually removing them. But of course, in a discussion on Anapanasati, there is no time for us to discuss all that as well. So an acquired, contented ease pervades the whole body and the whole mind. Seventh step, that is still in the second third step. I will breathe in sensitive to mental fabrications. Now, earlier it was to zest and happiness. Now moving further, moving deeper to mental meaning sankhara. and then I will breathe out. So the Buddha also said, always said, breathe in and breathe out with the same effort. And only thing is now, I'm not also prepared. We don't also have time to discuss the details of this, what this actually means, and how do we actually do it. It's just for us to have a brief overview. And in the last step of the second thread, I will breathe in calming mental fabrication. First, experiencing the mental fabrications, and second, calming the mental fabrications, calming them. So there is an intentional effort that the meditator is making to calm the mental fabrications, mental formations, whatever they are called. So thoughts and emotions now soften. Not only that earlier joy, our own thoughts and emotions are softened. The mind becomes pliant, workable. So he remains focused on feelings at this stage, in and of themselves, nothing more, nothing less. Ardent, alert, and mindful, the three words that the Buddha uses so beautifully. And this time now, subduing greed and distress. What do you call it? Kamachanda and Vyapada. Here we come to the Nivaranas. The first two of the Nivarana now are getting subdued here, subduing the greed and distress with reference. We have reached such a level of mental concentration. We have experienced mental fabrications and achieved a good deal of concentration, calmed our emotions, calmed our mental fabrications, and there is now hardly not much room for the mind to run away with greed and or aversion. I think aversion might be a better word here than distress. So the third thread, tetrad, is about the mind. What we just finished is Vedananupassana, joy, happiness of the body and of the mind. Now, in the third thread, it is about the mind. And still the meditator is training himself, sikkati. How? I will breathe in sensitive to the mind, meaning he is aware of what's going on in his mind, what type of a mind it is. I will breathe out sensitive to the mind. And I will breathe in gladdening the mind. See, we have such a lot of things to think about, even looking at these two sentences. Sensitive to the mind, to the mental experiences, and also gladdening the mind. Breathe in, glad in the mind, breathe out, glad in the mind. And to be frank, I cannot explain these because to me, they are very deep concepts. And then knowing the state of the mind as it truly is, at least to know what's in my mind. Is it a greedy thought? Is it a thought of anger, or is kamacha, is tina midda, is laziness, that is, or is vichikicha there? What, being aware of the mind, what's going on in the mind as it truly is, and encouraging shraddha, clarity, confidence, clarity, and faith. The last two in that tetrad is, see the effort coming in here. I will breathe in, concentrate in the mind, not allowing it to move all over the place, run all over the place. At this stage, it's not running all over the place, I think, but it may still be wandering within what we are doing. And I will breathe out, concentrating the mind. Then comes, I will breathe in, releasing the mind. I will breathe in, breathe out, releasing the mind from the defilements. These are very high states of Anapanasati. The mind becomes unified and still. It's not running anymore, it's still. So the meditator remains focused on the mind, kaya kayanupassi, vedana vedananupassi, chitta chittanupassi. Again, the same words, ardent, alert, mindful. Alert, the moment the mind goes, we are alert, mindful to bring it back. And we subdue greed and distress. We don't allow the mind to go where it wants to go because it is attached to something or because it is in conflict with something. So we are aware. And then the fourth tetrad, I will read, and I don't think we need to go into depth of this. We've heard a lot also when we listen to Bhavana and read. But now comes the Dhammanupassana, the last tetrad. Having achieved that level of concentration, that level of calm, awareness, having made that level of effort to keep the mind calm and concentrated and see the nature of the mind as it is, now the meditator can breathe, contemplating the impermanence. And so thinking, I will breathe in, contemplating impermanence. Not so much in words, that is the intent the meditator will have. And I will breathe out, contemplating impermanence. Then I will breathe in, contemplating the fading away, the viraga. Similarly, the out breath. And so all experiences are seen as changing, impermanent and changing. So you see how the gradual progress is happening. And the attachment, that is the fourth step here, weakens. When you see things are impermanent, they're changing, the attachment to them weakens. It's only experiential, not experiential knowledge, but it is experience. Then again, finally, the last two steps, I will breathe in, contemplating cessation, nirodha, the very logical, and I will breathe out, contemplating cessation. And then, as if it's like the grand finale, I will breathe in, focusing on relinquishing. And I will breathe out, focusing on relinquishing. Patinisagga, giving up or letting go of all the defilements in the mind that tie us to this horrible samsara. The ending of craving and suffering happens there. So, and complete release through non-clinging. The meditator remains focused on mental qualities here in and of themselves. Kayana kayanupassi, evagi chittena chittanupassi, ardent, alert, and mindful, and subdues greed and distress. So at every step, these words are really very important for the meditator to understand, to reflect on, to be very familiar not before, but then, gradually get that knowledge as well, so that why we are doing what we are doing becomes clearer as we go on. So, Anapanasati fulfills the four foundations of mindfulness, as we just saw, going from Kayanupassana to Vedananupassana to Chittanupassana and Dhammanupassana. And the Buddha says there, and I think this is another whole book or thesis that can be written, and they are written already, they are documented in the Tripitaka, which fulfill the 7 factors of awakening. Now, just because we did this, and this is the explanation, when these things happen, the 7 factors of awakening or the bojjhangas, Sapta Bojjhanga, are also being developed as this goes on, and that leads to clear knowing and liberation. So just to remind ourselves about what Sapta Bojjhanga means, mindfulness, which is developed through these 4 foundations of mindfulness. So no wonder that Satara Satipatthana is called Ekayano Ayamago, although there is some differences of opinion about what that word Ekayano means. This is, if you do Anapanasati meditation in this way, as the Buddha has taught, then you're doing all 4 Satipatthanas. And with that highly developed level of Anapana, sati, Dhamma Vichaya develops with that persistence, rapture, that is the joy, the zest. Then comes the calmness, because you understand why rapture is meaningless, useless, concentration, equanimity finally. So mindfulness of breathing, when developed and cultivated, is of great fruit and great benefit. What more, what greater fruit, what greater benefit can there be than other than being able to shed all defilements, destroy all defilements and end samsara. It's a simple practice, as it were, and it's a complete path as well. So the Anapanasati Sutta is simply an expanded and full illustration of just how the Buddhist path consists of the abandoning of the Nivaranas. So Nivarana has to go hand in hand when we talk about Anapanasati. Establishing the Satipatthanas, the idea is to destroy those Nivaranas and developing the Bojjhangas, that is the path awakening factors. This is a quotation, not coming from the sutta. Take a look at this picture. So this is what we want to do with our minds, to end this dangerous, treacherous samsara. The untamed mind learns stillness through mindfulness. Anapanasati can be the means for that. Thank you so much for listening. And I wish you an effort, wisdom, strength, persistence to pursue Anapanasati meditation. Thank you once again.
Thank you very, very much, Soma, for that brilliantly presented, perfect when the content and slides and your illustrations, they were beautiful. I'm only hoping the thumbnail will have that, young prince, the Anapanasati at the Wapmagula. Such a beautiful picture. I hope because it's auto-generated. Thank you so much for taking us right through and such a valuable, there is amazing words. There are no words to say how wonderful it was. And so you have taken so much of trouble in, finding appropriate pictures or generating them through AI. Thank you very much. And I'm sure there are a lot of comments and there's a lot of appreciation of this and of your presentation and of our weekly meetings, I hope, at the Servants of the Buddha. Thank you everyone for having joined, and above all, Soma, for having done such a wonderful job. Soma, as always, Soma is perfect. Thank you, Soma.
Thank you, Manu. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Now I'm allowing, let me see how I do this. I will allow participants to unmute themselves. I think that's allowed now. Please see whether you can unmute. You'll help me if somebody unmutes and tells. Malaka, can you say something, unmute, so that I know that this unmuting is possible now? Nobody has unmuted. I have 1 minute.
Yeah, we can unmute.
Right, fine.
Dr. Amala, thank you.
Yes, Samantha, go ahead and say something I know you would have enjoyed this presentation. I hope you got to listen to it whole.
Oh, yes, I did. I really made time just to make sure. Thank you, Dr. Soma. It was really helpful, and it pinpointed certain clarifications as well. But I was just thinking where, the mental formations in the second tetrad, the Vedana and the mental formations, where do the perceptions come in? Is that part of mental formations as well?
Mental formation meaning sankhara, isn't it? So we have Vedana, Sanya,
Yes.
Sankhara. I don't know whether this is appropriate here, but Sanya would be perceptions. Is that right? Do I get it right? The
Yeah.
rest is all Sankhara. Yes,
Right. So, right.
but I
Okay.
think
Mm.
it is quite okay for us to think all of that is Sankhara, other than Vedana and Vijnana, all the
Oh, I
mental
see.
qualities. We may be able to ask Bhante as well whether that is correct. It's an important question, but
Yeah.
what is important is
Yes.
to be able
Yes.
to understand it's the nature of the mind. Nature of the mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
To do that.
Anuja,
Wonderful.
Anuja's hand is
And
raised, but if I may just butt in, this feelings are clearly in one group, but it's so quick, it's just through contact sparsha that you get they are very quick and immediately between feeling and perception. The perception comes in with the chitta and the sankara, because now you have started seeing. So in the Chittanupassana, the perceptions will be. That's why there isn't though there are five aggregates, there are only four foundations of mindfulness. Samantha, as she pointed out,
thank
where
you.
is perception, that's with the Chitta. Right, Anuja, go ahead.
I don't know. My sort of I would say experience is that perception conditions all the other things. Perception conditions feeling. Perception conditions sankharas, and perception follows together with consciousness. Leads to all the other things. So in terms of the five aggregates, I feel that perception is integrated into everything else. And the thing is, it happens automatically together. That is why it's very difficult to separate these things, because it's based on perception that you get a feeling. It's based on perception that the cognizance takes place. And it's linked with consciousness, because as the consciousness arises, perception kicks in. So those things are all happening almost I would say simultaneously, and that is why they say these things happen at such speed that it's now say you are looking at something, now this picture that you have here of this beautiful forest. I mean, as you look at it, now eye consciousness arises, but together with that, you get a feeling, and that's conditioned by the perception, our perception of a forest, which is so peaceful. So I don't know, to me, that's how I understand it.
Yeah. And
That
Anuja, you're right, because consciousness and the mental concomitants, of which Sanya is one, arise together, isn't it?
Yes,
So
that's right.
they
Yeah,
cannot be
they arises
separated.
together.
So
Yeah,
they are
you're
in
perfect.
Chittanupassana. They are both in Chitta. And as the Buddha, when he was asked, he said the five aggregates you can't separate in the end, because it's like all the rivers. If you take the water in the ocean, he that was the simile he gave. It has come from all the different rivers, but you can't say which river it came from. So
Yeah.
that consciousness, the
That's right.
vijnana, finally is a collection of everything, and it happens. Those other two, these feeling and from there onwards, it's all contact. So it's not even like rupa, which is the kaya is something else. It's there, but the form, but the rest of it, it's just contact. So it's just in a flash. You can't separate. But vijnana is what is so important, because that's the one that will finally take us to the next life. So that's the one you have to weaken. And to weaken that, you have to reduce perceptions and feelings, because those are the two that are feeders of vijnana.
Exactly.
Mm. Yeah,
So that
that
is why
makes sense.
this whole thing is not only, pardon my saying this, but wisdom is also important. Wisdom comes through samadhi, but there is also wisdom of having to know how the salayatana, the six, the six senses, and the feeding to the five aggregates. You have to really study that, I'm afraid, and get that into a understanding, and then venture out also. Just like having the Sila, all that. I think that is important, because that is why once that is there, then immediately you are told, ditta mattanga, you realize I'll be breaking the chain. If you break the feelings or the perceptions, Vijnana can't be there. There's no Vijnana. So the idea is to stop Vijnana. At the end of the day, if you want to, peace and all that, and meditate, tranquility you get. But to get to no rebirth, you need to, I'm afraid, look at Vijnana. Vijnana is the culprit.
Yes, but to do that, then, Mano, as you rightly said, then why does the Vijnana arise? So we have to go to Paticca Samuppada.
Yeah.
But then staying within Anapanasati, the strategy is to get rid of the Nivaranas.
Yeah.
And once there is no attachment, there is no aversion, and the rest of then Vijnana cannot arise again. It cannot give us relinking consciousness will not arise. So you're perfectly right to say, as long as there is Vijnana ready to take us into another birth and to continue in this life itself, we will continue to suffer.